Welcome back into the Sean podcast. I'm myself, Big Ush, over here, the Cat Daddy. Cat Daddy, what's on your mind?
You know, it's always good to record these when we're coming off a victory, right? It's always a good feeling.
Victory Monday does
fresh off a
It's
victory.
not Monday, but victory days are just wonderful, aren't they?
No matter what day of the week they happen. And look at this.
Still got the beard, I see. Well, you said victory,
Still
right?
got it. Sure did.
You know, you got to keep the beard. You got to win to keep the beard.
Exactly.
Win and you win. All right, so we're just going to jump into the slate of games from this past week. And this first one, it was a fun game. It's not the storyline, but it's a fun game. The storyline for this game should be the two young quarterbacks battling it out, slinging back and forth, giving a really good game. And Trevor Lawrence looking like who he should be. But unfortunately, the storyline is Jacksonville's a mess. And Jacksonville's head coach, he could be getting out of there pretty soon.
Yeah, what we should be talking about is how this was Trevor Lawrence's best game as a pro. 4 games in, going against Cincinnati. Almost pulling off a win. But it was pretty close there.
The best rookie quarterback this past weekend.
Yeah, maybe.
But I have a pecking order. I'm just saying.
But he certainly looked better than he did the first 3 games of the season. So that was a huge step in the right direction for him. Now, this is all going to be overshadowed by not only Jacksonville going 0-4, but Urban Meyer going 0-1 over the weekends.
Yep.
And creating a huge distraction. So that distraction overshadows everything that Trevor Lawrence has done and accomplished. So that is a huge loss for Jacksonville altogether.
It's not just the distraction, it's the whole concept. Because of said distraction, it's coming out reported that the team doesn't respect him at all. And that's very bad. Cameo.
Yep, that's Shadow's tail.
It's just bad if you've already lost your team 4 games into the season. That's nonsense.
Well, I think it was prior to 4 games though, because there were some rumblings even earlier in the season as the regular season was starting that the players just weren't taking well to Urban Meyer's style. And you can say, well, maybe it's just going to be a change. Maybe they're changing the culture. So along the way, you got to find those players that aren't going to fit in, get them out. But with all of this coming out now, and there's a few pieces to this because, one, Urban Meyer didn't fly back to Jacksonville with the team.
He did not.
Which is highly unusual for an NFL coach not to travel with his team. Instead, I believe he stayed in States and he went to his restaurant/bar.
Yep.
Where there was video surfacing.
No. We're not going to touch on it. That's not our thing.
Okay, well, people can go to Twitter for it.
A situation happened which caused people to question Urban Meyer's, let's say, integrity, accountability. Let's just say that makes people think Urban Meyer is not the greatest dude, which we already knew. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, honestly, I think we've spent too much time on him. We both agree his time at the Jags is going to be brief.
Now it's a question of, because Shad Khan said, well, we appreciate Urban Meyer taking the approach to apologize, take the ownership of it, but he's got to earn the trust and respect of the organization now. And there's talks that there is, or may be, a morals or a morality clause in Urban Meyer's contract. If he does something that violates morals, and I don't know how that's defined, that's all up to the contract.
That's a weird thing to put in the contract. Anyway.
But you're thinking this guy is supposed to be the leader of men.
Well,
they look
the
up
big
to
thing
him.
is, How can he go to them and tell them how they need to act in public when he put himself in a position?
Exactly.
It's real simple, bud. Walk away. Walk away.
Exactly. And there were. I'm not sure how accurate and true the report is, but it sounds like Urban Meyer went around to all the position groups and had a conversation with position groups. And after he had left each of those groups,
they laughed.
The locker room and the players were all laughing.
Yeah.
Now we're not sure if that's what kind of laughter that is.
From my understanding, this is coming from a player who they didn't want to name, but the player basically said that they found them to be a big joke.
Yep. So Urban Meyer, is he finding a way for himself to get fired so he can take the USC job? I'm just gonna throw that one out there.
We'll see.
A little conspiracy.
I mean, if he gets fired and doesn't resign, they owe him that salary. So hey, maybe.
Well, it depends on what that contract and those clauses look like. I don't know. I'm curious.
All right, moving on. I'm gonna get my game out of the way. So the Carolina Panthers came into Dallas. Thought they was gonna get that 3-0 whooping on us. Guess what? Other way around, son. Apparently this number one ranked rush defense wasn't really number one ranked anymore. The Cowboys ran on them for over 250 yards, and Dak Prescott was extremely efficient. Yes, they got their stuff in. A lot of people questioning Mr. Mike McCarthy because of things that happened later in the game. I'm not actually making as big of a deal about it. I understand. I personally, yes, you want them to stay with the, going with that killer instinct, but at the same time, this is a 17-game season. They made... the only problem I had was that big play that they gave up. If they wouldn't have given that up, ticking the time down, forcing them to go down the field, forcing them to try to score these points, I have no problem with that. It was just, if you're going to do it that way, you can't give up a big play, which is what they did. I mean, after that, Kellen Moore went to the bag and basically closed it out. So, Ezekiel Elliott's demise was grossly exaggerated. So, I will say this. Carolina Panthers are going to be a problem, especially when Christian McCaffrey comes back. They are a good team. They just weren't nearly good enough on Sunday.
No, it just shows how valuable Christian McCaffrey is to that team.
That is true. But
he's the focal point of that offense.
I am gonna wonder.
But you got to give.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say you got to give credit to Kellen Moore, who called a great game for Dallas.
I also want to state Carolina's secondary. Once C.J. Henderson gets up to speed, and once J.C. Horn gets back, coupled with Dante Jackson and those safeties, this is gonna be a really nice defense considering how the front is being developed and those linebackers.
Yeah, the defense has, at the end, they allowed this game to be a lot closer than what should have been. They allowed, 2 late scores from Carolina?
Well, that's what I was explaining. The only one that I was really poo-pooing on was when they gave up that big play to the player whose name I have no clue who he is. If it wasn't for that, I actually have no issue with this because I think they play this game differently later in the year and in the playoffs than now, week 4. You know what I'm saying? It's a long season. They gave Trayvon Diggs some player management because he was having some back tightness. You don't want him to get injured anymore and not have him for the rest of the year instead of, you know what I'm saying?
True.
I get what
true.
What you're saying. But let's be honest. Once they got that 36 points, after that second interception, this game was never in doubt for the Cowboys to win this game. Even with the big play, even with some of those scores, it's not as close as the score indicates.
No, not nearly.
Moving on from this one, Washington went into Atlanta, and somehow the Falcons did it again. They pissed away a lead and let Washington beat them 34-30. And they were basically beat on a Hail Mary. I mean, it wasn't Hail Mary yards, but he threw up a YOLO ball. That's all you can say. Is Taylor Heinicke threw up a ball falling backwards, and somehow Terry McLaurin came down with it. That was nonsense. Shouldn't have happened. Atlanta, you need some work. Arthur Smith, what's going on, bruh?
Yeah, Washington should not have been in that game. This should have been Arthur Smith's second consecutive victory. That should not have happened. I don't know how you allow a touchdown in the last 30-some seconds. That's some problems in Washington.
Problems in Atlanta.
Oh, yeah, them too.
And there's, I guess, rumors that Matt Ryan wants out. Ooh. Now, that being said, Washington also had guard Brandon Sharif and receiver Dyami Brown ruled out in the game. We'll see if they play next week, but that is a troubling thing. All right, moving on to the game, which I'm calling a Denny Green type game. Not because Denny Green coached either of these teams. Just for me and Sean here, this is the they are who we thought they were game. The Bills finally showing that they are exactly who we thought they were, a contender and a pretty darn good team. And the Texans showing that they suck. That's all I got for you for this one. I mean, it was just straight beat down, 40-0.
Yeah, you're thinking Josh Allen showed he's back, but collectively that Buffalo team is putting together solid efforts on both sides of the ball, offense, defense. They're looking like that team that was going to the playoffs last year, that was almost in the Super Bowl last year, up until they faced Kansas City. And forget about that week 1 loss to Pittsburgh. That was like an anomaly in their schedule. They were just sleepwalking through that game, and Pittsburgh somehow won it. But you look at these last 3 weeks, like that's the Buffalo that you're expecting this year.
All right, so the next game, Detroit went into Chicago, tried to beat them Bears, did not happen. Talk about a get right game. So my understanding in this particular game is Matt Nagy did not call the plays, and look what happens when you have a competent play caller. Justin Fields made throws that you cannot teach. I mean, the boy looked good. He looked very good. He had one situation that I put on him, which was the fumble, because the interception was not on him. There are 3 types of interceptions in this league, people. There are interceptions that are on the quarterback. There are interceptions that are on the receiver. And then there are interceptions that the defense just gets. This one was a play made by the defense. The defense got its hand up. Then the other one made a great play. Just let that be a great defensive play. Do not put that on the kid. I will say this. Detroit needs a lot of work. But, I mean, I'm not putting Detroit as the worst yet. You see stuff from Detroit that they can do. It's a bad roster. This is what happens when you have a bad roster. It looks like good coaching, just bad roster.
Good for Chicago. They got offensive coordinator Bill Lazor calling the plays on offense, which did great things for Justin Fields and the offense altogether.
Yep.
But then wasn't Chicago 1 for 8 on third downs during this game? No matter how bad you are as Detroit, how can you allow a team to go 1 for 8 on third downs and still beat you? This is a game that, I picked Chicago to win, so I'm glad they won, so I got the victory there. But this is a game that Detroit should have won. Detroit should have beat the Bears.
But they weren't even close to beating them. That's the other part of that.
No, they weren't. It's almost like Chicago couldn't even give them the game.
Also, to the dismay, David Montgomery went down. He's going to be out for 4 to 6 weeks. That's a big blow. We'll see how it manifests. But, fantasy owners, we apologize for that one. Moving on, we have the Colts going down, all the way down to sunny Miami to play them Dolphins. And I guess the Dolphins weren't ready for this one. Carson Wentz gets his, it was his first win as a Colt, wasn't it?
Was it?
27-17. Yeah. So, I ain't got much for this one, Sean. All I know is, who is this Mo Allen? Who? Mo Alley something? Who?
Was it Mo Alley Cox?
Yeah, that guy. Who's this guy?
He's that Indianapolis tight end. I'll just pop up here and there, grab it. Touchdown or two, disappear for a little while. Is Tua the difference maker?
True.
Would Tua have made a difference with this game? Would that have put Miami on top?
I don't know.
Would that have given them the
Miami
victory?
On top. I think Tua would have made somewhat of a difference. Now, that being said, I do think that Miami needs a shot in the arm at the running game. Myles Gaskin is not it. Really not.
Yeah, they only gave. They didn't run the ball much against Indianapolis, though. I think they had a total of 16 running plays,
which is odd considering I think it was Tennessee ran all over them, wasn't it?
Yeah, you're forcing Jacoby Brissett to throw the ball 30 times.
Again, why?
Not sure what you were hoping with that one.
All right, moving on. Cleveland Browns versus Minnesota Vikings. Someone here predicted that a certain quarterback wasn't going to be good in this game, and he wasn't.
Oh, that's you. Oh, I predicted him to be good. Yeah, my bad.
That Cleveland Browns defense is legit. Them rookies are producing. Myles Garrett is a monster. Greedy Williams showed up. Hey.
Yeah.
So,
Grandel Pitt got some extended time in there.
It was looking for something. Now, no. Cleveland. Baker. What's going on, my friend? Your team is winning despite you, not because of.
Yeah, he certainly not helping. It's that running game. You're thinking that combination of Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, arguably the best running back duo in the league, literally were carrying Cleveland to victory for this one. It's nice that Kevin Stefanski got the chance to return to Minnesota and walk away with the victory. So that was nice after serving as, offensive coordinator for several years. Yeah.
So different storyline. Is Mike Zimmer on the hot seat?
Minnesota starting 1-3. He should be.
Considering last year also.
Yeah, it's one of those things.
Get easier.
No, it doesn't. It's one of those things where Mike Zimmer has typically performed pretty well, had winning record.
Next week it does get easier. Next week, but some of the weeks after it don't. Because next week they got the Lions. Get right, gang.
Yeah, where you're thinking Mike Zimmer, he's been pretty consistent with the team, winning records for years. They had a bad year last year, but you're thinking winning records just don't keep your job, because we saw what happened with Mike McCarthy in Green Bay. You can have winning records, you can go to the playoffs, but if you're not producing in the playoffs, then your job is potentially at risk. Mike Zimmer could be in that spot, but he's not the only NFC North head coach. He's going to find himself in the hot seat.
That is true. We already talked about one. That probably should have happened.
He should have been fired last week. They should have had Will Laser be the head coach for this game.
Talk about another coach who is consistent, but consistency ain't good. And I think he's going to put his team in a position to not have a quarterback, because I need to know what's going on with this team. And what I'm talking about is the Giants. That's not who I'm talking about. But they went down to the Big Easy, which is there again, to face the Saints. And somehow the Giants came out of there with a win in overtime. And I just want to know what happened here. Because Sean Payton, 1 week you guys look amazing. The next week you guys look vulnerable. What is going on? You're going to put yourself in the position to where you're not going to be able to get a quarterback if Jameis Winston isn't the guy. And I don't even know if Jameis had a bad game, but something about this team isn't right. Can you tell me, Sean?
It's the quarterback play. I don't think they're getting the consistency from Jameis Winston that they want. And I think if you notice, it's almost like they're trying to limit the amount that Jameis Winston is throwing the ball.
I have a question, though. Did Drew Brees mask some of the problems that are here for this team in terms of talent? Because you look around at these names, and I know you drafted Marquez Callaway in the fantasy league, but that's only because you just heard about him in the preseason. Name these names.
I was trying to catch lightning here, okay?
Right. But I'm just saying, you name these names on this team right now, minus Michael Thomas. Do you know who anybody on this team is other than Alvin Kamara? Like, really know?
Who would be a knowable name to a novice fan?
I'm just saying, like, I mean, forget novice fan. Even if you are a true fan, like, who on let's say you're an opposing defensive coordinator. Who on this team scares you? There's only one player on this entire offense that scares you. Because you look at these receivers, you're like, I don't know who. And you think our guys can man these guys up one-on-one? Like,
yeah, who are the receiving threats? You have Marquez Callaway. Not really. You have Traquan Smith. Not really.
Deontay
you
Harris.
Have Deontay Harris. Not really. Adam Troutman, Jawan Johnson. None of these guys are threats.
I'm not saying that you can't, like, get that late round guy. Hell, the Cowboys got Cedric Wilson out here making plays. But at the same time, the Cowboys have Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb letting this guy get some space. You know, it's just like, I don't have no problem with you developing late round guys. But when it's all late round guys, that's going to limit your offense. And that's what it seems like. The Saints had gotten used to Drew Brees making guys look better than they were.
Yeah, and I'd have to double check, but aren't they close to the cap?
Yeah.
Which doesn't help them as well, because when you're close to the cap, you can't sign free agents. Well, you have a hard time retaining your own guys.
No, maybe draft a skill guy early on instead of overrated defensive linemen.
Hey, I really enjoyed that Marcus Davenport draft.
I know you did.
I really did.
All right, moving on to the other New York team. We had Tennessee going into New York, facing Jets. Jets came out with their first win. Zach Wilson finally looked competent. And I truly believe that the only reason why the Jets won this game is because Julio Jones and A.J. Brown were out of this game. This is what happens, again, like the Saints. But on this level, both these guys are injured. And people say, well, the Saints don't have Michael Thomas. This is true. They don't have their stud. And this is what you see happens when that happens. That's why you don't poo-poo on teams like KC and Dallas who draft talent early on. Any thoughts on this one, Sean?
Yeah, it's AJ Brown, Julio Jones, that made Tennessee one-dimensional.
Extremely. They gave him one receiver. They do have talent. Josh Reynolds is talented, but it's the only guy they had.
Yeah, and it's tough because Ryan Tannehill's not going to win you the game. He's not that big game quarterback that you want. I mean, Derrick Henry can only run over so many people. But if you're having Ryan Tannehill throw close to 50 times a game, that's a bad sign for you. The offense isn't designed for him to do that.
I'm telling you right now, Derrick Henry was getting hit. This was not. I know he had 157 yards and he had some receptions that went for long, but he was getting hit. He did not enjoy playing in this game. I'm telling you right now, from what I saw.
I wouldn't have, would you?
No, I don't like getting hit. All right, moving on to another get right game. Kansas City went into Philly for Andy Reid to say thank you to the city of Philadelphia for everything you gave me, including this win, 42-30. Jalen Hurts with his garbage time yards and whatnot. This is the same old story for Philly right now. They look competitive, and then all of a sudden the other team goes off, and then they try to play catch up.
Yeah, congratulations to Andy Reid. He became the first coach to win 100 games with two separate teams.
Yep.
And how poetic was it that he won his 100th game with the against the Eagles in Philadelphia? Like, I don't even think the schedule makers had that in mind. Well, I'm sure they did. They're like, let's play the odds here.
Now, let's be honest. You know what the story of this game is? All right, two teams beat KC. You know how they beat KC? There's one player that you work to shut down. Because you know you're not shutting down their offense. But there's one player, just one player, that you make sure doesn't get the ball. And that's Tyreek Hill. Philly apparently decided, we're just going to play him straight up. We're going to let Tyreek Hill do what he wants. And our DBs are going to be hanging with him. Well, they couldn't. And Tyreek Hill poo-pooed on your entire defense.
Yeah, they're like, well, we could stop Tyreek Hill, one of the most explosive players in the game, or we could stop Travis Kelce. No, they made their choice.
It was wrong. Kelce get his. Let Kelce get his. Because Kelce, for the most part, isn't getting that highly explosive play. Hill is.
Oh, yeah. Hill's a threat every time he touches the ball. Absolutely. Yeah. They guarded the wrong person this week.
I'm just saying, you're not going to stop KC, but if you stop Hill, it makes KC vulnerable. It does. Because Patrick Mahomes does want to go and get that big play. That's the first thing he wants to do, and it's usually to Tyreek Hill. All right, moving on. We had the Arizona Cardinals, the undefeated Arizona Cardinals, going in to play the Rams, who were hot, coming off a beat down of the Bucs. Guess what? The Rams got beat down in LA.
Did not see that one coming. Should have.
37-20. Wow. I'm just going to say this. Kyler Murray's a cheat code. They had a 3rd and 16. He picked it up running the ball. Explain this.
that Ram I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. The Ram defense just wasn't playing as well as they have, or as well as they should have, considering the stars they have in that roster.
Especially with all the PI that Jalen Ramsey gets away with.
Yep. You said it. I said it
out loud.
Mm-hmm.
But no. The Cardinals look like a solid team. Maybe Cliff Kingsbury knows what he's doing. Didn't know what he was doing in college, but apparently in the pros he's pretty good. All right, onward. Seahawks go to San Francisco, where they have QB problems, and they beat San Francisco 28-21. It's not nearly as close as that the score sounds. San Francisco got a real late garbage time touchdown. Uh, Honestly, I want to see what happens if they actually give a game plan for Trey Lance because he looked shaky at best. He was awful for a lot of the drives, and then finally he kicked it in. Now, that being said, Jimmy G hasn't looked that great this season either. So San Francisco was very vulnerable. What are your thoughts on this one, Sean?
Very vulnerable because Jimmy Garoppolo potentially could miss some time with the calf injury, to be determined. But if he has to miss time, if Trey Lance is forced to start the 5th game of the season, I don't think San Francisco's in a good spot. I don't think Trey Lance is in a position where he can start drawing those starts. I don't think he's ready for it. He's got the potential. There's the raw athleticism there. I just don't think he's ready for the full game yet. So I think there would be a lot of concern for San Francisco if Jimmy Garoppolo is not able to start.
Right. Now, just before I get on to the next game, just want to note some things that we didn't go through. Miami did have Will Fuller go out of the game with a hand injury. He hasn't been playing, so I don't know if that really mattered. Byron Jones also had an injury. Cleveland had Jedrick Wills go out. That guy needs to stay on the field, figure that out. Romeo Okwara tore his ACL of Detroit. He's done for the season. That's no good. Frank Ragnow also exited that game. Jabril Peppers left the game for the Giants. I mean, there's injuries all over the place. Tony Jones Jr. got carted off with the Saints. Matt Milano left the game for the Buffalo Bills. Oh, Josh Reynolds got questionable for the Titans. They were running out of receivers. Goodness. And then I think those are the most notable ones that I have right now. Moving on to the next game. Baltimore went into Denver, put beat down on those Broncos. But that wasn't the storyline, was it? I mean, no. Teddy went out with, I think it was a concussion. Drew Lock came in, was completely ineffective. But
which is what we expected.
But the real storyline here is at the end of the game, Vic Fangio decided he wanted to go for a touchdown, start calling timeouts with 30 seconds left in the game. And, he didn't get said touchdown. And the Ravens apparently had the ability to tie the record for most consecutive games with 100 yards as a team. And I don't know if the team rallied or if Harbaugh just wanted it, but they went for it. They got it. But after this game, in the weekly press conferences, Fangio took issue with Harbaugh doing that, trying to cite player safety. It's like, bruh, you were calling timeouts to try to get a touchdown at the end of the game. You don't care about player safety, my friend. And then I just love Harbaugh's clap back. Because, I mean, and here's the thing. You can have a problem with what Harbaugh did. I understand that. I think it's kind of stupid, too. It's an ancillary, nonsense record. Maybe it means something to his players, but it's still an unnecessary record. At the same time, when Harbaugh came back and said, I didn't know there was a 16-point play when he was trying to fire that ball into the end zone, taking timeouts at the end of the game, I thought that was kind of funny. You got any thoughts on this one, Sean?
I guess it's, where do you draw the line between staying competitive and sportsmanship? Baltimore was going to tie the record for 43 consecutive games, the 100 yards or more with rushing. They were, 2 yards shy with 4 seconds left, so John Harbaugh, John Harbaugh drew up a running play, a little scramble for Lamar Jackson to get the record.
To be fair, the play they did was as, let's just say, safe as you can get for players. To be honest, they didn't pull out a play where they're smash muffing it right up the middle to have everybody hit each. They ran a little stretch, and Lamar just went down.
Now, we're not going to see the alternative, but what if Lamar had gotten injured in that play?
Oh, no,
right? Would John Harbaugh still feel as good as going for it? And I guess that's the line. Sportsmanship, competitiveness. You have Vic Fangio trying to go for touchdowns because the impossible happens where a team could come back from a 16-point deficit now
in 30 seconds.
No, I'm saying it's possible. I just don't think it was probable for him. But he, for some reason, was trying to boost morale for the team. Maybe
and
Drew
then when
Lock.
There was 15 seconds.
Hey, I'm not saying he was right.
we're at the point. I think both were wrong. At the same time, Vic Fangio, if you really wanted, you should just ran the ball. There's no way he was going to get there if you ran the ball. And maybe your running back gets in the end zone. But don't sit there and try to throw it up with Drew Lock thinking you're going to get a touchdown when Drew Lock's been ineffective all game long. Stop that.
It's going to be comeback Drew Lock time. That's what it's going to be, but then it got ruined. Stop John Harbaugh, he gets the record, but he's also the head coach who has the longest winning streak in preseason. And what did it cost him? Cam Akers.
True.
So,
J.K. Dobbins.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Akers is on the Rams. J.K. Dobbins. It cost you J.K. Dobbins. Right? It's a significant loss. But, what do these records mean for him? Are they going to help him when it comes time for Hall of Fame candidacy and arguments?
Possibly.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Definitely not the preseason one. I'll give you that. That one's definitely not going to be in there.
But
Could
this one
rush
maybe?
It's possible. I'm not saying it's not, but, you're thinking you want records, you want player safety. What do you want? What do you want? Just be consistent.
Anyways, moving on from this nonsense. This is a nonsense argument that just needs to be nipped in the bud. We need to move on. Let's move on to the next game. Have you speak a little bit about your Packers. Pittsburgh went into Green Bay, and Green Bay treated this like it was the Super Bowl. A few years back, well, a little more than a few years, but they treated Pittsburgh like it was that time again. And let's be honest, this ain't that same Pittsburgh team that played in the Super Bowl. This team is, they got problems.
They do. It's time to hit that panic button for Pittsburgh. Yeah,
Yes.
I think that time was the end of last season was the time to hit that panic button because you've already proven that your Week 1 victory against Buffalo it's the exception to what the season looks like.
When you got the star player committing penalties because he can't stop the other team. Oh, wait, he didn't get called for the penalty because Pittsburgh gets calls all the time. But that was tripping, wasn't it?
I guess it's only tripping if the ref sees it and throws his flag. But, Devontae Adams, the headshot last week, I don't know.
How's it feel to experience this? As a Cowboys fan, I've been experiencing this for a while.
But Pittsburgh made it look like they were going to be competitive. Ben Roethlisberger almost made me look wrong by, opening drive, 45-yard touchdown, Deontay Johnson. I'm like, hey, we got a ball game now. But then things just quickly fell apart for Pittsburgh. Yeah.
And then?
Things got out of hands. That the porous offensive line didn't help anything. It was typical Pittsburgh.
Mm-hmm.
So Green Bay came away with a victory. We did suffer a loss. Jair Alexander had a shoulder injury. Sounds like it's his AC joint.
Ooh, I know all about that.
His availability.
Is he gonna have 5 MRIs a week like that?
Well, maybe not as many. He should, though. He should. But they're saying he may be able to play this coming weekend if he wears a brace and feels like he'd be able to play safely with it. But it's not optimistic for Green Bay.
There's another loss that you're not mentioning, which I think actually might loom bigger.
Are you talking Zadarius Smith?
No, this is coupled with the Zadarius Smith,
What?
the other Smith, Preston Williams. Smith. Preston Smith also left that game.
Man, we got the win, but we're taking smaller losses, and it's not giving a lot of hope and optimism moving forward. But we'll take the win. Let's hope we find like a health pack and like a video game and just start handing them out to everybody. But yeah,
the mutant healing powers.
Yeah, we need like Wolverine in our team. Absolutely. But Ben Roethlisberger looks washed on. I'm curious to see, will Ben Roethlisberger, assuming he's healthy, will he finish the season as Pittsburgh's starting quarterback? Or at some point, does Mike Tomlin go, we got to pull the plug on this?
We'll see how it goes. Next one up, we had the Sunday night game, return to Foxborough. And this was an ugly game. I know it was raining, but Brady didn't look good. Antonio Brown forgot how to catch. Mike Williams was getting bracketed the whole game. The Bucks, they did run the ball well. They ran the ball pretty well. Now on the other end, New England didn't run the ball well at all. I know they only had 8 rushes, but 8 rushes for -1 yards ain't going to do it. Maybe they're missing somebody who, could possibly run for them. There's a running back that is on their team, but
maybe his name's Ramondre, but he's in the doghouse, so he doesn't have a chance.
Well, J.J. Taylor might be in the doghouse now after that fumble.
Oh, yeah. Bill Belichick, man, you lose a fumble, you're pretty much done for like 3 games. Don't even bother showing up. You are done. And Ramondre has been a healthy and active for several weeks now, and I'm thinking, hey, with James White going down, there's got to be some carries and targets going around. Let's get Ramondre back in there, and that didn't happen. But that New England running game looked horrible.
Mac Jones played very well. A lot of it was very short passing, but they did do well with the short passing game. He did test the Bucs once. That was that proved to be a mistake.
Man, how strange that to hear this head to head. Not only did Mac Jones outperform Tom Brady, but almost pulled off a victory. How strange is that?
To be fair, let's be just for all intents and purposes. To be fair, if Antonio Brown could catch the ball, we'd be talking a different story right now.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, definitely. This wouldn't have come down to Bill Belichick trusting his kicker in the rain, the game on the line, because they would have been down by so much.
Did he forget it that Aaron Vinatieri has been gone for years? He
must have, because I was going for Tampa Bay for this one, right? I picked Tampa Bay to win, so I'm happy they came away with the victory here. But yeah, throwing your kicker out there, you're not trusting Mac Jones with 4 yards to go. I don't know, that's kind of strange for me. I think I would have rolled with Mac Jones.
I mean, at least for that 4th and 3. Pick that up, get some extra yards, then run the ball a little bit.
Yeah, and get yourself closer, better range. Absolutely. It's raining. The guy hit it right off the upright, too.
You give 3 more yards, that's probably in up the pipe.
Yeah, I definitely think that would have been a good kick. Great storyline though between Brady and Belichick. Brady coming back to New England, getting the victory. It's like the NFL planned this around homecoming weekends or homecoming time.
I'm sure they did. One thing, chapping myself on this one. I know Tom Brady's great. I know he's considered the GOAT, but he's not bigger than the team. He's not bigger than the game. Tom Brady won, yes, but his team won. It wasn't just Tom Brady. Vita Vea was out there throwing fools around 2 at a time. I'm just saying, that defense came up big. -1 yard rushing? I'm sorry, that doesn't happen. So I just wanted to get that out. All right, onward. We'll go to the Monday night game. The Las Vegas Raiders went into LA. This is weird. We had 2 LA games in 1 week. I know one was on Monday and the other one was on Sunday, but how'd they get that field ready? You know. There was a delay, and the delay was a precursor to the game because we had lightning, people. We had delay for lightning. The bolts was out, and then the game started, and there were still more bolts that was happening. Now note, to Derek Carr's dismay, this may not have been a full, let's say, home game for the Chargers, but the Chargers still dominated them hard. I mean, there's one hit. And here's the thing. People want to make fun of Derek Carr when he curled up when he got hit. I have no problem with him curling up. How much Derek Carr weighed? 200 and what? 220 pounds?
Protect yourself, man. It's like upper 2s, 3s coming at you. Oh, man.
Now, that being said, Las Vegas Raiders, start playing before the third quarter. You can't just spot the other team points and expect to come back all the time, especially against good teams. You might be able to do this to some of the bad teams that you've been playing, but when you play a good team, they're just gonna, keep that lead, which the Chargers let you back into it, and then they slam that door on you. Any thoughts on this one, Sean?
I think the Raiders reverted to what my expectations for the Raiders were this year. There weren't high expectations for John Gruden and this team. Yeah, that's just gonna be honest right there. There wasn't high expectations for it.
3-1.
I know. I still don't know how they did it, but the Chargers walked away with the victory. What was it? The Raiders only had about 50-some yards of offense by halftime.
Yeah, it was rough.
What? No, you can't win ball games that way, and it was bogus, the taunting call that Darren Waller had on him when they did get a first down. I didn't think that was taunting, and it just goes to show where the refs are putting that attention, because I think other calls, I'm not even sure about this game, but in other games like across the league,
some calls in this game.
Your refs are missing calls like holding,
was getting held multiple times.
Bear hugged, yeah, offensive pass interference, defensive pass interference. There's all these calls are being missed that could affect the game, but when a player celebrates and he got a first down, and I think it was the first down that the Raiders got, it's like, well, you're going to get called for a taunting penalty when you're clearly celebrating because you weren't looking at anybody. It wasn't directed toward anybody, and I thought that was just really bogus, but that just went along with the night for the Raiders. Nothing was going their way. They got a couple late scores, but by that time, the Chargers already had the game out of hand. Justin Herbert looked like a good quarterback out there. That Raider defense that had been performing so well for the first 3 weeks of the year seemed to be replaced with something else. Not sure what it was, but this is a different Raider team, but it's the Raider team that I expected to see this year. So what are we going to see in week 5? We don't know yet.
We'll see. Depends on who they're playing. Now, that I'll say, Justin Herbert did look mortal. I'll say that. He didn't look the same, but he was still good. But
yeah,
that's all we wrote for this one. Sean, words of wisdom for this episode.
Words of wisdom. Don't give up. Dreams can come true. You have Marshawn Lynch, who just landed himself a job as, what was that title again? I think I wrote it down. He is now the NFL Player Association's Chief Brand Ambassador. Wow. A role that's been described as one that will support development of players past, present, and future, both on and off the field. It's very vague. I said, what's that?
Good for Marshawn.
Yeah, good for Marshawn. Hey, dreams happen. Keep working for it.
I'm sure he already got his dream because he played in the National Football League, but, I get what you're saying.
I'm not even sure what this job does, but I'm very excited that it has Marshawn Lynch to it, and that's going to be fun to watch.